In this video, I'm going to give you an overview of long-term disability in Manitoba. I'm going to start by giving you a bit of a background in part one. Part two of the video, I'll go through the sources and types of long-term disability benefits in Manitoba. And number three, I'll take you through a simple process for how to apply for long-term disability benefits. So my goal is by the end of this video, you will have a basic understanding of long-term disability. You'll know the sources and types of benefits you can get, and you'll have a short little process for how you can go about to try to get these benefits. Let's dive in. So part one is long-term disability basics. In this part, I'm going to cover 4 questions that I get from people to help you understand the basics around long-term disability. Those are, what is long-term disability? How does it work? What medical conditions qualify for long-term disability? And finally, I'll talk a bit about the concept of own occupation versus any occupation. Let's start with what is long-term disability. Long-term disability is simply a financial benefit paid to people who become unable to work because of a medical condition, illness, or disability. These benefits are typically paid monthly, although it can be weekly, and they can go to age 65 in some cases. Now, normally they will be around 60 to about 90% of your pre-disability income, but it can be less than that based on what program or plan you're applying to. These benefits are usually going to be paid by a government agency, an employer, or the insurance company. So second question, how does it work? So basically how long-term disability works, it is an application approval process. So each insurance company or government agency who runs a program, you have to take it upon yourself to apply for benefits to that program. They don't kind of seek you out or review you in any other way. You actually have to contact that program, get the application information package, and submit an application information package. That's basically how it works for all the programs that I'm going to be discussing here. What medical conditions qualify? So in terms of medical conditions, people often have in their mind that the most important thing is the medical diagnosis, and that if you have a certain diagnosis, that will mean you're approved for disability. It really doesn't work that way. Disability insurance companies and programs, they don't focus completely on the diagnosis. They're more concerned with the impairment or restrictions and limitations that come from your medical condition, not from the medical condition in general. The way to look at this is like the same medical condition can result in different levels of restrictions and limitations for people. For example, with multiple sclerosis, that can be seen as a very serious condition, and people have in their own mind that it's very serious and disabling. Well, that's not actually the case. In certain situations, for many people, they are able to continue to work, and they have very limited, at least in the beginning, very limited restrictions and limitations. They're able to continue working. So simply getting that diagnosis for them will not get them approved for long-term disability, because the insurance companies are going to go one step beyond that and say, okay, well, what are the actual permanent restrictions and limitations that you have? So don't focus only on your diagnosis. It's more important to have doctors talk about the restrictions and limitations resulting from your medical condition. Own occupation versus any occupation. This is an important concept that you will see come up in any type of a long-term disability program or plan. Refers to is how disability is defined within these plans and programs. They define it by your ability to do work. Now that can be work within your own job or your regular work. That's called own occupation. Or they can define disability as your inability to do any type of work. So they call that any occupation. When you're applying to these programs, it's important to understand if they have an own occupation standard or an any occupation standard. A common mistake is people applying to a program with an any occupation standard, but their doctor only talks about how they're unable to do their own job. Insurance companies will naturally, usually, almost always, certainly insurance companies and programs will deny those types of claims because they will say, this isn't about you being able to do your own job. There are probably other easier jobs out there in the economy that you could do. So be careful about that and understand what standard that you need to meet. Now, the last point about this is that with insurance plans especially, they can be hybrid. So meaning they may start out for 1 or 2 or 3 years. They will cover you if you can't do your own occupation, but at a certain point they'll switch over so that they'll only cover you and provide disability if you then can't do any occupation. Part 2, sources of long-term disability and types of long-term disability benefits in Manitoba. There are 3 sources. Source number 1 are insurance companies. Source number 2 is the province of Manitoba. Source number 3 is the federal government. Let's go through these quickly right now. So the source number 1 is insurance companies. They provide 3 kind of products or types of disability benefits to people. The first would be individual long-term disability insurance policies. Individual long-term disability insurance policies have to be sold to you directly from a broker, something you're going to have to buy yourself. These will cover you personally, and if you become disabled, they will pay X amount of money per month. It's usually how it's listed, and you have to apply for the benefits through that plan. Again, this has to be something you've bought directly from a broker. These plans are notorious for being some of the more complicated, and I would urge anyone with one of these types of plans to seek out advice from a disability lawyer before you even go off work and apply for benefits, because a lot of mistakes on these plans are made early, and you want to try to avoid that. All right, the second type are group long-term disability plans. These are the most common, and you're going to find these embedded within larger group medical benefits plans in workplaces. So if you're in a workplace that offers medical, dental, drug coverage, this kind of thing in a medical plan at work, it's possible that that plan also includes short and long-term disability benefits you just may not have noticed before. So you should go check to see if your plan has these benefits, because they are common, and if they do, those types of plans are usually these hybrid ones that I've talked about that'll cover you for a certain period of time, 1 or 2 years on, or 3 years on own occupation, and then they switch over to any occupation disability. They typically go to age 65 and will cover between 60 to about 80% of your pre-disability income. Third type of insurance plan that is in the disability kind of space are what I always forget the name, special purpose plans. Special purpose plans are kind of a mixed bag of things. They're not technically disability benefits, but they're within the world, so let's cover them here. The first is creditor disability insurance. This is disability insurance that is attached directly to a loan, credit card, mortgage. And you would have bought it possibly when you purchased or were approved for the mortgage. Now, what this will do is if you have to apply to it, but if you get it, it will either pay the month-to-month payments that are due, the interest payments or principal and interest payments, or it will, in some cases with visas and other lines of credit, it may just pay off the debt. Okay, you'll have to see what your plan actually does if you have one. But sometimes people forget they have these because you're just chicken boxes when you bought this thing. All right, or when you were approved for it. Number 2 is critical illness. Critical illness is a type of insurance that has a list of critical medical conditions, and if you get one of those on the list, this is one where the diagnosis is absolutely important, then you get the benefit as long as you survive 30 days. That's pretty simple. The benefit, though, is just a one-time payout, and it's meant to kind of get you over the hump and help you during the recovery period from a critical illness. The third one is dismemberment insurance. Very similar to critical illness, but instead it lists different types of injuries and impairments like losing a finger, losing the use of an arm, using the use of a leg, blindness in an eye, that kind of thing. They're listed, and then if you have that thing, there's a certain payout of money, a one-time payout. So that's how that works. Next one is life insurance. Pretty easy. If someone dies, they have life insurance on them. It gets paid out to a beneficiary. Most people understand how that one works. And the last one is travel insurance. Again, you're traveling. If you have this type of insurance, it can reimburse expenses that you incur for medical treatment abroad. The next source of disability benefits is the province of Manitoba. There are 2 programs that the province of Manitoba runs that will cover the majority of long-term disability benefits in the province for government-run programs. The first is the Workers' Compensation Board of Manitoba, and the second is the Manitoba Employee and Income Assistance Program, EIA is sometimes referred to. Let's start with the Workers' Comp. So Workers' Compensation Board of Manitoba provides loss of income benefits to people who are injured in workplace accidents. So it has to be a workplace accident or work-related illness. And if so, as long as your employer is also covered under this program, and most of them will be, then you can apply for benefits through this program. These are great long-term disability benefits. If you can get them, they can pay up to, I think it is 90%, yes, 90% in Manitoba for long-term disability, up to a maximum income of around $150,000 a year, which is one of the highest in Canada, actually. So anyone who earns more than $150,000, well, you're kind of limited to the benefits that would be paid on $150,000 salary, but that's still one of the best in the country. Now, that amount changes year to year. This is what it is as this video in 2022. So You might need to update that depending on the year you're at. Workers' comp benefits can go to age 65, which is fantastic. But again, to get these, it has to be a work-related injury. The EIA program, which is the social assistance program for people with disabilities in Manitoba, it will pay out to people who can prove you have a disability as defined by their program and you meet the financial criteria. This program is very different from everything else I've mentioned because it has the second condition that your family income has to be below a certain level in order for you to qualify, no matter how disabled you are. So if your family income is above that level, then you earn too much money in order to get these benefits and you wouldn't qualify for them. So this is one of the drawbacks of this program. It's available in theory, available to everyone, but only if your family income is below a certain level. So many people won't qualify. You'll have to go check. If you're not sure, just apply and be honest with your financial situation, and they will let you know if you qualify or not based on the financial criteria. The last source is the Government of Canada, and they have 4 types of benefits. Let's go through them here now. First is CPP disability. CPP disability is pretty well known. It's a disability, long-term disability payment that comes through the Canada Pension Plan. To get the Canada Pension Plan, you have to have paid into it while you were a worker. It's not open to all Canadians. It's a you have to have paid into it in order to reap a benefit from it. And further, with the long-term disability benefits, the Canada Pension Disability, you have to have made recent payments up to the point when you had to stop work completely for disability. So it can't be a situation where you just went into the workforce for other reasons and then 10 years later you have a disability. Even if you had paid in a lot in the past, you are likely not going to qualify. Now, if you do have questions about whether you qualify, I have other videos that go into bigger detail on that, or you could contact Service Canada or a law firm to get more information about that. If you qualify, it's around $1,400 a month, so it's not a lot to live on just from that benefit, but when combined with other things, it can be a good benefit. It can go to age 65, and that's pretty much it for that one. Number 2 is EI sickness, employment insurance sickness benefits. These are benefits that are only paid in the short term for the first 15 weeks of your illness, and they can cover 55% of your pre-disability income up to a certain threshold, a maximum amount. And they're intended to kind of get you by while you're waiting for CPP disability to kick in or your long-term disability benefits to kick in. These are pretty easy to get. They'll get approved automatically if your doctor sends in the form, so it's not really contested, but you have to have worked enough in the lead up to have enough credits to qualify for the EI sickness. So you do have to have worked in order to get it. Number 3 is the disability tax credit. A lot of people have questions about this. It's kind of a misunderstood benefit. It is not a monthly benefit like the others I've been talking about here. So you don't get monthly payments through this if you're an adult. What happens is if you qualify for the disability tax credit, what it allows you to do is to claim this financial tax credit. It's $8,000 and something as of 2022, and it changes every year. But you can claim this tax credit on your taxes so that when you file your taxes, if you owed taxes and paid into the federal tax, then you would get a refund. If you don't owe any taxes, there's no refund to get, so there's no financial gain from this benefit. If you don't pay taxes yourself or have taxable income that you're paying out, then sometimes a family member or someone who is financially supporting you can use your disability tax credit on their taxes because you're a dependent on them and they can get the benefit. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, the last one here is not actually a benefit yet. It's been proposed. I'm throwing it in here because this video will be out there. This right now is 2022. So if you're watching this later on, maybe this benefit will be kind of effective by then. It's called the Canada Disability Benefit. Again, this is only proposed by the federal government. It's not been enacted yet, but it's out there. Now, we don't know all the details about it yet, but from what I can gather, it is intended for people who have a disability income below $19,000, $20,000. So if you're in that category, you're getting disability benefits, and your total income from those benefits is below $20,000, this is intended to top you up to $20,000. If you're getting disability benefits and you're already over $20,000, I don't think this benefit's going to be helpful to you. I don't think it will apply. That's my thoughts. It could change. But your personal disability income is below $19,000 or $20,000, then it can top you up to that. Last part here, how do you apply and get these benefits? Again, I mentioned earlier that this is an application process. So the first thing you need to do is identify the programs that you might qualify for. So do a little research on them. You can certainly, our website has lots of information and there's other videos, but go through and figure out the programs in Manitoba that may apply to you. Then you're going to have to get the application forms for each program. And sometimes these forms can be online. Sometimes you can apply online. Sometimes you can just download the forms. Sometimes you may have to get paper forms. It all depends on the plan program you're dealing with. So for example, if you have a group plan at work, you would ask your work about getting you the application forms for the long-term disability. Then what you do is you have to fill out these forms. They take you through a series of questions and you would send them in to where it says on the form. It'll tell you on the form where to send these in. Now, there's forms usually for you to fill out, and there's almost always going to be a form that your doctor has to fill out. So with the doctor's portion, you should make an appointment with your doctor specifically to do this form and take the form with you and have the doctor do it while you're there. They can either give it to you or they can send it in, but that's a much better way to get it done. That way the doctor is there, they're getting paid for their time to do this, and they can clarify questions and things with you. Once you get all your forms sent in, the program or insurance company is going to assign a claims representative. This is going to be a person who reviews what you've sent in. They may have more questions for you, which is fine. They may ask you for more records, documents, medical records and documents. That's fine too. You can arrange to get those sent in. Once they have all the information, they will make a final decision or a decision on whether you're approved or not. If you're not approved, don't fret about it. I mean, it is very disappointing and scary, but many of these cases can be overturned on appeal. So you would do something called an appeal, where there's a formal process you go through to have their decision reviewed and hopefully overturned at a certain point. All of these plans and programs have a two-step appeal process. The first appeals are done directly with the agency or insurance company that you're dealing with. However, all of them have something in common where you go to a final decision maker who is going to be someone who is separate and apart from the program or the insurance company. And sometimes that could be the courts. Other times there are tribunals that are set up to handle the final decisions on these cases. That's it. That's an overview for you. You now know all the sources and types of benefits, a little simple way how to apply. If you like this video, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like it, and leave us a comment if you think I've forgotten anything or if you want something further clarified. And go ahead and check out our website, resolutelegal.ca, to sign up for our email newsletter. You'll get that once a week, but it's got some good information in there, especially if you are going to be managing your own disability claim. And we have links to other special events and things that we only do for people on the email newsletter list. I'll see you back here next time. I'm Dave Brannen, disability lawyer. Take care.